Hey there, Streakers. We are so excited to be with you today. Today on the Streaking Podcast, we're diving into the kind of leadership that inspires and motivates, the kind that transforms teams. Our guest has a gift for helping leaders ditch the corporate buzzwords and actually get results. With coaching that's clear, fun, and fiercely effective, he's known for turning burnout into breakthrough, silos into synergy, and meetings into something people might actually look forward to. We're talking leadership characteristics, streaks that stick, and how consistency fuels momentum. Please welcome, I'm going to have to do this over again, Kurt, because I need to know how to pronounce your last name.
All right, everyone does. You're
I was going to stop you, and then I'm like, maybe he'll just say Kurt and ask him in the middle.
No, I got to know his last name. Sorry.
I think you should leave this in. This is great. This is great TV. A great podcast. Yeah.
Yes. So how do I pronounce your last name?
It is Wuerfele.
Wuerfele.
Okay,
Not
that's
easy.
good.
Okay, so we'll leave this in and say, please welcome Kurt Wuerfele, and let's start streaking. What is streaking and why should you do it?
Streaking is how you set up personal winning streaks. Look at who you want to be and what you need to do to become that person. This is streaking.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jamie.
And we are streakers. Through 30 years of marriage and 7 children, we have learned the power of consecutive consistency or streaking.
To start streaking is simple. You just follow these 3 laws. Make it laughably simple, keep a record, and join the streaking community.
Streaking is your hidden superpower. With it, you will consistently progress and grow in whatever area of life you want.
In this podcast, Jeff and I will share all the fun, exciting, serious, solemn, wonderful parts of family, spiritual, professional, and personal life, and how streaking powers it all.
So join us in the conversation, join the movement, and start streaking today. All right, Kurt, after that fun introduction,
That's great.
Where in the world are you today?
Yeah, right now I am in beautiful Valencia, Spain. I moved here about a year ago and have been totally enjoying it. Absolutely beautiful place to live.
Wow.
That's wonderful.
What is and you've got, I mean, you've traveled or live in a couple of different places. What prompted all that? Take us a little bit on that journey first before we get into some of your other journey.
Oh gosh, a couple of my core values are like adventure and environment. And so when I had the opportunity to just go, as a digital nomad, basically, I thought it was a great idea. The time was right. And so I wanted to see the world. And so I wanted to experience different cultures and different ways of doing things. I'm half German. And so I've been to Germany plenty of times visiting family, but always loved Europe and always wanted to get back. So while I was here, now it's all close, right? Like kind of like the States, going from Bangor, Maine down to like Boston isn't a big deal, right? So I do work out of Scotland, Glasgow area. My significant other is up there. And so I'll go back and forth, and it's been great. It's been wonderful to be able to show my daughter Europe and get her, horizons expanded. It's been a wonderful trip.
Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. And you've seen so much. Now, have you traveled more of the world than just the areas where you are? I mean, do you kind of, as an adventurer, I'm supposing you've gone many places.
Yeah, I have. I mean, the biggest thing is I'm a backpacker, so you'll see it on my website, all these pictures of mountains and stuff like that. I do backpack all over the place, been all over North America, done some hiking in Europe and in China too. I tell people we adopted our daughter from China. So when we were there, we got a chance to see the Great Wall. So I can officially say I hiked the Great Wall in China.
That's great.
We'll throw it in there,
That's awesome.
That is so great. Is there one in particular backpack trip that's the highlight for you? That's like, you know what, that was one that just always sticks in my memory.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeffrey and Jamie, these are great.
How do you pick the one? That's like asking you to pick your favorite child.
I think you guys are coaches or something. I had a really big transition and breakthrough in my life, probably back in around 2015 or so, when I finally got loose of a lot of self-limiting beliefs and started taking some really positive action to start releasing a lot of this that I've been carrying around my entire life. And when I started making some of these goals and dreams I had a reality, I actually took a trip to celebrate. And I went out with one of my best friends. We went out to Estes Park. went to Rocky National Forest or Rocky Mountain National Park,
Of course, yes.
and I was, it was a really, really emotional, spiritual, beautiful time where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in my happy place. The mountains are always where I love. And I did it. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It took a lot of self-discovery. It took a lot of willingness to be aware. But like I always tell my clients, awareness is the key foundational piece to any meaningful change we want to make in our lives. And I embraced it, accepted it, and I got to where I wanted to go. So I think of that trip as being like just the crown jewel on a very, very special journey of mine. So,
Wow.
That's great because we love Estes Park. We
Uh-huh.
spent a lot of years in Colorado, and we love the Colorado Mountains and the Rocky Mountains. So as you were talking, I'm like, yes, I can believe that being in Colorado would be this opportunity to just really have a spiritual experience. And I love that you said awareness, because I talk about that a lot with people, that awareness is the beginning of it, because you can't address something you're not paying attention to, that you're not aware of. And it's great when people can help us be aware of the things that we're not aware of ourselves. But that's just like the first step. And then afterwards, I'm like, now you've embraced the hard work.
That's right.
Now you have to actually look at it and choose to keep going with it, and be okay with starting. I feel like we when wearing of something is kind of like learning to walk again. You go back to starting at this place where you're not as comfortable, and you have to be patient with the growth because it's more small, new.
Yeah, no, Jamie, you bring up such an important point, because you're right. Once you have the awareness, and sometimes we don't want the awareness, right?
No, yeah, that's where the
Sometimes-
work becomes. You're like, am I going to accept this now or comfortably live in denial? Because I was happy where I was.
That's exactly. You know what? Ignorance really is bliss.
It is.
Until it's
It's
not
true.
anymore, right? Sometimes until it's right. But you're absolutely right, because I think some of the work that even for me, that was really difficult was that second step after the awareness. I think you kind of touched upon it, the acceptance.
Yes.
Now I have to accept what I'm
Yes.
seeing. And am I okay with saying, okay, it is what it is. It's not what I wanted it to be. It's not what I would hope it would be, but it is what it is.
But it is what it
And
is.
it's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then getting past the place where you blame all the people around you for it being there, and look at it and be like, okay, I'm going to now take responsibility for what it is,
Yes.
and start the hard work of, I don't want it to be that way. I'm going to change. I'm going to do things differently. So
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
I love it. I love it.
Jamie, it sounds like you've had a little bit of personal
I know. Well, I
experience.
love when you're like, I addressed my limiting beliefs. I'm like, yes, I need to address my limiting beliefs. But then there's that whole part where you're like, do I want to address my limiting beliefs? I don't know. Some days I'm like, no, I'm happy with my limiting beliefs. And then other days you're like, these are dragging me down. I have got to figure out a way to do this.
That's it.
So-
You know what? Limiting beliefs can be very appealing, because they originally they're there to keep you safe, quote unquote.
Right.
People who are listening, quote unquote, keep you safe, right? Until they don't serve us anymore.
So they're not working anymore. Yep.
Yeah, and so they can be very comfortable. It's like, oh, no, I'm okay with that limiting belief. I'm good with
Right.
that. I don't want to change. Right
I'm
now.
not even going to label it as a limiting belief. Right now, it's my
No.
reality.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You're right. It's just-
So
Love it.
tell us about, so you are in the healthcare industry. Tell us how you made that transition from tell us how you got involved in the healthcare industry, and then how you kind of transitioned into being a coach of healthcare leaders.
Absolutely. So really, I was in training. I was involved in training and leadership development at a nonprofit hospital system in North Carolina. And so that's why I went through my coaching certification while I was there, because I really wanted to enhance what I could bring from a leadership perspective. It's building upon my career. So when I was there, I ended up meeting a good friend through mutual friends. And one of my best friends now is Aaron Blackmore of Blackmore CPA. So he was there in the town that I was working in, and he has a CPA firm that basically they specialize in healthcare financial reporting, and they really help get their clients unstuck from their financial reporting process woes, right? And really put them in a place where they can feel in control. And that's really important because when we met, he asked me to coach him. I coached him, then I coached his team. And then he's like, okay, can you coach some of my CEOs for some of our biggest clients that we have who are CEOs of nonprofit hospices? And I said, well, absolutely. And at that time, there was two big things that were going on. Number one, COVID hit. And number two, the hospital system that I was going through was going through a merger. And it was a nonprofit being merged with a for-profit, two completely different worlds colliding. They had me coaching directors and helping with that transition process. So at that time, I started talking to Aaron, and I'm like, there's an opportunity here, right? For me to actually put into practice what I love doing, but do it in the way that I've learned through my, core energy coaching methodology, but also taking these merges and these transitions that people go through, seeing what not to do, seeing what to do. And so it was an opportunity to see hospices just in leaders thrive through change. So I think there's also a little bit of a heart piece to this too, because I've been involved with many different ministries throughout the years that I was by bedside of people who were terminally ill, people who were in hospice. So I have a lot of familiarity with it. So this is a part of my beating heart. This is a part of my purpose, my passion, to see people pass on with dignity, with love, to know they've always been loved. And so it really just was a match made in heaven. And I developed a program that specifically met the needs of these CEOs who were just dealing with post-COVID chaos. I'm sure you guys have seen this plenty of times in the past few years, right? Just recovering from that blow, especially with healthcare on the front lines. It was downright traumatizing for a lot of them. So to be able to work in such a meaningful and powerful way with an organization like hospices, palliative care, home health, that is so noble and so honorable. It was an honor, and it was just the right time, right place.
Oh, that's awesome.
As I think about, as you're talking, I think about hospice. So my father passed away, about 4 years ago now? 4 years ago. And the individuals he was suffering from chronic heart failure. So when he was, near death, we had hospice come in. And that is some of the most amazing experiences that we have with those individuals. I mean, they became fast friends because of the time of life that we're in and where we are. And they were right there when he passed with us. Yeah. And it was just a moment where, or actually they had just left, didn't they? And we were right there.
I just remember feeling so grateful for someone who had so much compassion. It takes a lot of bravery to be there at the end of someone's life and to deal with all of those emotions of the people around and the person going through it. Yes. But also so grateful for their expertise in, I feel like they were helping your dad to be comfortable, but also helping us to understand how to manage some of what we were feeling, but also to feel confident in what we were doing. It was nice to have somebody there that wasn't emotionally connected to what was going on, but yet emotionally connected to what was going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And I think that level of, I think you hit the nail on the head, empathy.
Yes.
A place to be heard, someone to share and to guide you through this in a loving, professional way. It's a gift. Hospice is an absolute gift to not just the patient, but like you're saying, the families too.
Yeah, it was huge.
So the question that brings up in my mind is, how do you, in your coaching, help the leadership connect with the front line, with that individual that's coming into our home? Because that individual reports to someone that is probably not going into the homes or not doing on the front line, but you're helping that connection, from what I understand, and what you do with your coaching.
So you have on your LinkedIn from carpet walkers to care advocate. Yeah. And Jeff and I were like, we don't know what a carpet walker is. So we were looking it up, and it was fascinating to recognize that it's people that are working more administrative, less with the patients. And as I was reading about it, I thought I could see the perspective of the people that are working with the patients and in the trenches doing it day by day. But there's also a need for administrative. There has to be policies in place and structure, and how challenging it would be to feel that disconnect, because both are taking on the person that's with the patient. There's a lot of emotion and physical strain and knowledge that's being on the front lines, but there's also a lot that they aren't seeing from an administrative perspective, that I'm like, yeah, budgets are important. You need money to fund these things, and you need structure, and you need policy. So it seemed like your coaching was helping both of those people to be able to communicate with each other.
Yes, 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 and yes, and not just those, specific teams, but the entire organization.
Okay.
And so, I think what motivates me with all this is I want to see there be a deep understanding and, again, awareness
Yeah.
with the leaders and the teams and the organization for who they are, what their purpose is, what their mission is, their core values individually, and then together. I think that's how we bridge it. We bring them together so that, managers and leaders aren't just managing teams, but we like to say that they're truly inspiring change and compassion in what is a very, very, challenging environment. So I think when we can help breed authenticity within our leaders and within our teams, I think this is what's going to foster that psychological safety, right, where everyone can thrive. So it really, I think, bridging it down to is people understanding themselves first. It sounds kind of simplistic, but that's where we go in first.
So how do you do that? How do you go in and help people understand themselves first? What are some
In a
of this?
professional setting too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons why I chose IPEC is because they have an assessment called the Energy Leadership Index Assessment. And it's not a personality assessment, it's an attitudinal one.
Just real quick before for our listeners, explain what IPEC is so that they have a little bit more knowledge.
Yes, excuse me. Yeah, I'm always like rattling it right off. It's the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, and IPEC is they are an accredited coach training program. They're one of the top in the world, and they have a proprietary, basically report called the ELI Index. And basically what it is it's an attitudinal assessment that shows someone how their perceptions are either holding them back from what they want or bringing them closer to them. So basically it's going to give you a snapshot of 7 different levels of energy. One being the lowest, where we're kind of like in fetal position, right? And one being like, a space where maybe we are euphoric or in a time of meditation or prayer, or whatever. Each one of these levels is within everyone at any time, any given point of the day. And we want to be aware of the energies that are being developed because of our perceptions. And so when people are aware of how their perceptions are changing things for them, they can make a change because it's subjective, right? Our perceptions are subjective.
Right.
Yeah.
They can be changed. So that's where I start. I start with the individual. We go through an ELI and we find out where are these different 7 levels of energy really showing up and affecting you and holding you back or pushing you forward. And we start releasing those, because the way that we do anything is how we do everything, right? And what ends up happening is as they start learning more about themselves and how they see and view others in the world around them, we're able to actually help them start integrating with each other in the same way.
Wow.
So it's kind of like a long way to answer a simple question, but that's
That was really good. That was because first of all, I love that you start with yourself, because honestly, we can't change anybody else, but we have a lot of power to change ourselves. And I love that you start with helping people see perceptions, because it is so easy to assume that your perception is reality and that other people are perceiving things in the same way. And I've had so many times where through communication, even with Jeff and I, we've been married almost 34 years, and there are still times that I say something and we get going and I'm like, that's what you were thinking? Or he'll say to me, that's what you were thinking. Like our perception,
Yeah.
even with how well we know each other, it still takes a lot of intentional effort to understand how he's perceiving something as opposed to how I'm perceiving something. And not
Yes.
assuming that my way is right or your way is right, or that you're thinking exactly like I am. Like my perception is reality, therefore it's your reality as well, when
Right.
oftentimes it's not.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it. And that's the beauty of the entire thing is I think there needs to be that willingness
Yes.
to be able to understand that. And when it does, it opens up all sorts of possibilities and growth opportunities for people like they've never seen before. It's really great. I mean, we go back to the limiting beliefs too, right? That's those limiting beliefs are what can put us into
Yes.
those energy levels and affect our perceptions, right? Whether they're right or wrong.
So when you say energy levels, I don't know if this is, but I've been thinking a lot lately about the amount of energy that my thoughts are taking in the sense of the cost of the thoughts. Like how much am I going to have to
Yes.
pay for, is it that same, is that kind of that same concept that yes, you have a lot of energy because you've been able to recognize these thoughts, or this perception or this place that you are is taking all of your energy and it's not leaving you much for other stuff?
That's precisely it. So the way that I explain the energy levels and how, because everything is an energy, right? Like the air
Right.
that we breathe has energy in it, right? There's molecules buzzing around and atoms and whatever all that scientific stuff is I forgot from years ago, right?
All that movement.
Yeah, all that movement, right? I often tell people, oftentimes it's like a light bulb that's screwed into your ceiling, right? We can turn the power on, the energy on, and the light bulb gives light, it gives warmth. What was dark, we can see now, right? It's great. We'd all agree that's a good thing. Now, if I unscrew that light bulb and stick my finger straight up into that socket, pow, it's the same energy, very different result, right?
That is really good. Yes.
So are you experiencing your energy by choice because it serves you, or by default because it's what you're used to? That's what we peel back immediately.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I want to go to something Jamie mentioned and get your thoughts on it. One thing you mentioned, Jamie, is you said we have the power to change ourselves. And what I know is that you have to believe that. In
Yeah.
other words, a lot of people
Yeah.
don't believe they have the power to change themselves. What's your thoughts on that?
I got a lot of thoughts on that. You're absolutely right. And sometimes we have really, really, really deep-seated limiting beliefs that are stemmed, as we know, in trauma. They've been
Right.
with us from the very beginning, from something that we sustained, because we all go through it, right? And it
Right.
forms our perceptions about ourselves and the world. Um, Sometimes those are so strong that someone may not feel they even deserve to be able to set a goal or have a dream or want to change
Wow.
or believe they can.
Yeah.
Now, we get into a different realm when it comes into therapy for that. That's not, however, coaches, we can dip our toe in the pool of the past, as I always tell people, just to bring some of those thoughts to the forefront. So that is, and I think that's what makes it really, really, difficult for some people. And again, like we talked about, sometimes it's doing the work. There are people who, coaching, it might be really good because it's like a first step. They may not go to a therapist to help get free from that, but they will feel comfortable going to a coach. Well, we can start getting awareness at least, right, until the next step. But I think I'm not sure if I answered your question or not, but
I think
No,
that
that's good.
it's exactly right on in the sense of you answering my question is regard those deep-seated beliefs, limiting beliefs and so forth, like what we've talked about, stop me from believing that I have the power to change. So
right.
once you've uncovered that, once you've somewhat looked at it and dipped your toe into that past and uncovered it, and people are willing to look at and say, okay, I do have power to change. I do see my energy level. What's next? What's the next things that start to happen in order to get them to engage with their team, with the organization, and so forth?
Absolutely. I want to see them have a quick win.
No.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah. And what does that do for a person when they get that quick win?
You know what? It gives them hope. I did not believe I could do it, and I overcame that. I can see a different reality now. I can see a different truth now. I can see how that perception I had before was incorrect, right? And so I think that is one of the things that's so critically important, is to be able to have those first little wins. Why I love the My Streak win, because then once we learn what starts working, we can start tracking them down, right? And again, it might be something as simple as, let's say, a leader who has a team member who they have a really difficult time having conversations with. And a lot of the strife comes from their own perceptions about the other person that maybe you weren't even right. Once those things can get unlocked and they start, like you were saying, Jamie, taking accountability and responsibility for themselves and the content of their own thoughts and beliefs, we can start seeing synergies, communication, people coming together, people empathizing more, working better. And then it's like, okay, so that worked. You tell me what's something we can do every day, every week to keep this going. Who else are you having perceptions about this? And maybe it's someone, it's not even at work. It could be your family, your spouse, your friend, right? But we want to see that start growing.
Wow, so just a quick streaking moment here, because I love what you're saying, and it relates so much to what we talk about as far as the power of a small win, which is actually an HBR article that we used in the research for streaks and making streaks laughably simple. One of the streaks that I heard just come out here is, once take an opportunity every day to identify either an energy level or a limiting belief or a perception that I might feel,
Yes.
and either just write a quick sentence on it or write it down. But that could be a streak, and I'm looking to you to say yes, that's true, or Jeff, you're completely out.
Wow.
That could be a streak that says, that helps me now to start to overcome some of those perceptions and start to be that leader that's mindful.
I also think
Yeah.
it brings awareness to the foreground. It gives you a doable task to have awareness, which I think is awareness can be a difficult thing, because you can start with awareness and then life gets busy, or you have, Jeff and I call the run home to mama principle, where you get under stress and you go back to what comes naturally. You go back to doing what you've always done.
Yes.
And so having a streak, once you've had something that you've become aware of, I think setting a small winnable streak that you can do each day increases that awareness, which also then increases your confidence as you
Yes.
start to see things that you would have missed before.
You bet. That is exactly it. That's exactly it. Once you find that tendency or that little thing that's been holding you back, and you're aware of how you want that to change and how you would rather feel, you can make it a goal and a streak, right? Day by day. What at the end of the day, I'm going to collect. I'm going to take a look back at my day, and I'm going to say, you know what? Did that come up? Was I feeling that way today? I know this is a piece of contention for me, right? I know this can kind of set me back. I've been dealing and working on it. Where did I overcome it today? Where was I even where was I aware of it today?
That's what I was going to say, is even where was I aware of it? Because stopping and taking time to look at how you responded to things or how you reacted to things has a huge amount of it's hugely beneficial. And I think it's the first step to being able to improve. And one of the things that I love about the streaking methodology is it gives you the grace to have the time to improve, because we don't, once we're aware, it doesn't mean that we're not ever going to do it wrong anymore. It's just the first step of like, now I'm aware. And in fact, sometimes it can be hard, because I think this is sometimes why people don't want awareness, is once you become aware, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I can see it everywhere. Like all I can see is how I've been, and that can be difficult. That
Yeah.
can weigh on you. And so giving yourself small wins where you're like, okay, I was aware of that. I didn't handle it good, but I recognize that I didn't handle it good and I can work on handling it better next time. Like it gives you that time to get better, to practice, to be patient
Yes.
with yourself as you make those changes.
Jamie, I love everything about that. I absolutely love that. And so, and here's another streaking idea. I mean, this is actually, I'm thinking about this right now because one of the exercises that we always give to, my clients is, okay, once you've had your ELI assessment and you know where you're at and where these energy levels are living inside of you during, normal times when you're calm and then times of stress and you're making your plans, you know, number one, be aware of the energy levels during that day, during your day. But then the next piece is start walking around the grocery store. Look at other people interact and see what energy level they're resonating at. Be able to see it coming and going. And now we start becoming masterful, right?
Wow.
Another great streak, yeah.
Yeah, that is really good.
So just a quick shameless plug for the MyStreaks app because we just released a journal portion to the MyStreaks app where you could, at the end of the day, basically record what it is you saw and what you're saying about going around the grocery store and seeing how other people are interacting and recognizing that, oh man, that now really starts to bring enlightenment to the energy levels and to, I guess, bring together what I've been learning. If you're my coach, what I've been learning from you, and be able to see it in such a way that now I can actualize it and start to be even better. Am I on course there?
You're totally on course, and you can see the result, right?
Yeah.
You can see the whole thing from start to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think I love the idea of walking around the grocery store and identifying, because I wonder if you would develop more compassion for people that are in those lower energy places that you're like, you know what, because you recognize some of the things that bring your energy down. And instead of being annoyed with those people, you can start to have compassion and be like, there's something going on in their life that is taking a lot of their energy. So they don't
Yes.
have any as a mom, I feel a lot like when you're in the grocery store with your little kids, it is not your best parenting moments, and I don't want to be judged on those moments
Sure.
and so being able to see where the energy is, I picture myself seeing a mom kind of getting frustrated with the child in the grocery store and recognizing there's a lot going on there. She's in an energy depleted state and needing to have opportunity to be more compassionate with that rather
Absolutely.
than assuming entire characteristics or character traits of an entire person based on one moment of seeing them.
That's, you know what, Jamie, as you're talking about that, I think what you're talking about is judgment.
Yes,
And a
absolutely.
lack of, we're
Yes.
gonna, that's exactly what happens.
We're going to stand back and not keep that judgment
And
there.
that's exactly it. And the less judgment we have in our lives towards ourselves and others, because sometimes when we do judge those people who are, having
Yes,
a hard
the bad
time in the
thing.
grocery store, right? It's the same way that we would judge ourselves.
Absolutely. Yes.
So we get to start releasing that and understanding it and seeing it and take a different perspective on that when we catch ourselves, right? With
Right.
something else I could think. It's really powerful.
One of the things that you recently wrote, Kurt, in your LinkedIn post was about feedback. And are you really hearing the feedback from your teams? And what is that feedback? So as we progress in this conversation, I think I've recognized something in myself. I'm now trying to see in others. How do I now receive and encourage feedback? And what is your view on that? Because some feedback is good and some feedback is not helpful. So how do I look at that and receive it? What is your view on it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think feedback. Yeah, it depends on how it's delivered and the intention and the energy behind it, right? So some feedback isn't really feedback. It's just
Yes.
like clawing your face off. So I think that with feedback, and I think let me get your question one more time so I can just zero it in, Jeff.
Yeah. As far as receiving feedback, I'm looking at it and how do I solicit to get that feedback from my team or from really being able to hear it? I mean, one of the questions you ask
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
am I truly hearing my team's feedback?
yes.
What does that look like?
I think it looks like vulnerability, and I think it looks like leadership courage. And one of the things I've always encouraged my clients to do, I forget the coach who did this. I found it on YouTube and I thought it was genius. But it was a 6 questions. Maybe you guys might know. It was basically the 6 questions that every manager should ask their team on a regular basis. I think it is important, in order to solicit it, to expect it and to have that baked into how you do things as a culture, as a leader. We will have two-way alignment and communication. So every 3 or 4 months, I'm going to meet with you and I'm going to ask you, where do you think, I'm going to tell you, here's where I think we're going. Where do you think we're going? Here's where I see you're doing a great job. Where do you think you're doing a great job? Here's where I think you may need some work. Where do you think, if you're the coach of you may need some work? And one of those questions that's really important is, I've given you some feedback and I've heard what you have said. Now, what feedback would you give to me to be a better leader and a better support to you? Mm-hmm. And you give them the opportunity. And then, okay, great. How can I help you? Right? And so there's accountability right there. Mm-hmm. And that's really, really, I think, to solicit it, good, healthy, honest communication and feedback back, you model that. Mm-hmm. And you make it a priority to do that every single few months.
So, a question for you. As you teach this, you've had feedback given to you in your life, as far as that's concerned. I have, you have. I'm just curious, when's a piece of feedback that was hard for you to receive, and how did you get your energy level to the place where where you could receive what was needed to be said?
Yeah. Boy, just a couple
That's
of weeks
a
ago.
big question.
No, it's a big question.
Speaking of being vulnerable.
No, you know what? It's an excellent, exquisite question. So just a couple of weeks ago, let me think about how I'm going to formulate this for a second.
I'm with you. Yeah.
But basically, I think I had received feedback that stung a little bit from a very close, loved one. And I think how I'm able to process it is, upon hearing it, your body can trigger.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so that's natural. Be aware. I'm triggering right now. I'm getting tense. My chest is tightening up. I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling like they're going to hate me forever and leave me. All these, right, starts going through. So be aware that that's going on. Also be aware of who you're talking to. I think for me, if it's someone who I know and love and trust, then that's going to provide a level of psychological safety for me. So we're kind of weighing out, who is this coming from, but we're listening though, and we're actively listening. And that's the other piece. I mean, for me to be able to accept it, I make sure that I'm really clear with what they're saying. And I will go back and I will say, thank you for sharing that. Tell me, but then I'll go ahead and tell them, this is what I'm hearing you say. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is why it matters. And it makes sense why you're feeling that way, and really try very hard to understand that. I think those are the key components for me to really listen and to really take it in not a defensive way, because the second that happens, it kind of clouds the entire conversation. So remaining calm and then kind of taking it back and weighing it out and saying, okay, have I heard this before? What's the validity? I want to look at myself. It's always a balance, isn't it?
Yes.
We want to take a real honest look at ourselves and who we are, our tendencies, our perceptions, what other people have said, and it kind of paints a story. Kurt, yeah, you kind of get this way when you get stressed out. Oh yeah, I've heard that before. Okay, I got to give that to him, right? Versus, is this right out of left field? And is this really not pertinent? Is there something else going on that I'm not seeing, and this is surface level, has more to do about them? It can be difficult, right? And depending on the weight and how big the feedback is, I might get a couple of my good friends who know me really well. Hey, I got this feedback. Have you seen that? Can I work it out with you real quick? That's how I accept it and process it. And this person who had the feedback for me that was hard to take, it was a gift.
Yeah. I set a streak, it's been a couple years ago now, to seek out feedback because I recognized that feedback is a skill. Like there is so much to it, which means
you mean like receiving it or
receiving
giving it, or
giving it, all of it. The whole process of
Yeah.
feedback is a skill. Because what you said right out of the chute is, well, it depends on how the feedback was given. Is this, am I giving you feedback reactionary because I'm really frustrated with the situation, or have I taken some time to think about how you're going to receive it, and maybe I can say it in a way that's more positive? All of that is skill based. But yes, definitely being able to take feedback is, in my mind, a lifelong skill that I want to keep practicing, even though it can be difficult, because how many of us, it's hard to actively ask for feedback. It's worse, I think, when you get it when you weren't asking for it. Because then you're like, wow, I thought I was doing good and you don't think so much. And so
It's like when the
that's
manager
how it
calls you into the office. Kurt, can I see you for a few minutes? Guys,
Yeah.
see you real quick.
Yeah,
Oh no!
Oh, boy.
Close the door behind you.
Close the door behind you. That's when you know. Oh,
Oh
I'm getting
gosh,
some feedback.
there
So
comes
I
the feedback.
love all the things that you said are so key to developing that skill. Where is this feedback coming from? Who's the source? Is this a trusted source, and evaluating both of them? Trusted sources can have high value, but so can sources that you're like, we don't know each other very well. That can have high value as well. And that was the reason I set the streak, is because I was like, not everything that somebody says is true feedback. Like it takes skill to understand and to peel away what is the real feedback. And then sometimes you can get to a place where you're like, this is what they said. That's not true, but this is true. This is what they should have said. And you learn that. You know what I mean? And it's a skill. It's a skill to be able to get to this place. There's a
Yeah.
quote somewhere that said, everything that someone says, there is some kernel of truth to it. Like there's something in my action. There's something in the way that I'm doing that I can learn from it, even if 99% of it is coming from a false perception that they have or something. There's still a place where I can
Yes.
gain that 1% and learn something from this. But
And
it's a
that's
skill to be able to discard the other 99 and not take it with you and have it become a part of your identity.
absolutely, and but you hit on such an important note there, Jamie, because we have a saying at IPEC that says, "Everyone we meet is our student and our teacher."
Yes.
And I think that's really important to remember. Okay, there's always something to learn from everything, even negative feedback that has no merit.
Right.
That was attacking. That was okay. So, what can I learn? I don't know. What would
Right.
you like to learn? What
Right,
would be
right.
good for you to learn? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we unfortunately love to keep talking because there's so many fantastic things. As you give advice, well, a couple of things. One, what would you kind of say someone seeking out a coach would you recommend? As they seek it out, what's some of the things to look for?
Like look for in a coach, or
Yeah.
look for in I need coaching?
Well, I think either. I mean, you can answer either one of those as far as I think that everyone needs a coach at some point in their
Yeah,
life.
we all
Yeah.
need
I
help.
mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
at some point. So the question is when do I seek that person out that's maybe outside of my, realm of influence, and it's actually someone like a Kurt, I say, you know what, I need some
How do
coaching
I-
here. How do I handle this? What
Yeah.
would be your advice on that?
I think the moment you know you need some assistance
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
the moment you know I have enough awareness to know that what I've been doing is not working anymore. I have enough awareness to know that I've been spinning my wheels in this same rut for the past 6 months, 2 years, 10 years, 30 years. I think when you have tried working with consultants and people who very well meaning and I'm sure can be very helpful, but give you all the tactics and the strategies on that are going to fix everything, and you realize they're band-aids and there's something deeper going on. When you realize that and you're in a place where the pain of continuing is going to outweigh the pain of the change, that's when you should be looking to talk to a coach and just have a conversation. You can tell. They're all going to give you a free hour consultation because they want to know. I want to know if you're someone who I want to work with, right? If
Right.
there's two-way alignment again, right? So go ahead, talk to someone and see if it feels right. See what they ask you. And I would say what to look for. I want to know that someone deeply, deeply hears you and sees beyond the story, beyond the drama, but they see the heart and they see the thought patterns and the motivations.
That's good.
Someone who can speak to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's powerful. Kurt, thank you so much for being with us today on the Streaking Podcast. It is such a pleasure. When I met Kurt and talked to him the first time, I just thought this is a person who has the highest amount of energy
Jeff
that I
has
want
been
to put on.
excited for this podcast. You keep saying, you're going to love it. You're going to
Yeah,
love this.
It's going to be great.
We didn't even talk about music either. I mean, we're
Yeah, I
both musicians over here. I mean, we got a lot in
I
common.
know. We talked. I mean, there's a whole nother podcast right there.
Oh, I know. It's going to
And
be great.
how music can influence your mood and what that looks like to influence your energy levels and what
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I mean, wow. That's a.
Let's put it together. Let's do it.
We need to, absolutely. Well, how can, if someone wants to get a hold of you, Kurt, or if they want to check you as far as if they'd like to hire you as a coach, how can they do that?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. They can email me very easily at Kurt, that's a Kurt, at lifepasscoaching.com, or they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Kurt Wuerfele on there.
Okay.
The last name is very hard to pronounce.
Yes,
so
it
there's
is.
not a lot of us. We're a brave sort here. Yeah. On LinkedIn, you can find me there as well.
And you coach United States as well as anywhere. I mean, I know you live in
Yes.
Spain and Glasgow and others, but you coach everywhere. True?
I coach everywhere. Yeah, I've got clients on 5 continents right now. So it's always, that's the nice thing about once you start getting the time zones down and people understand that, okay, I got to meet with Kurt in the morning. It's only in the morning. I got to meet with him at night. It's only in the night. You get an equilibrium and it's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, anywhere.
Well, thank you so much. And if you'd like to ask Jamie or I any questions about the My Streaks app, which again, we've got the journal feature that has just been released that'll be fantastic for some of the things that Kurt talked about as far as self-reflection and also commenting on your streak. Please feel free to ask Jamie or I any questions. You can do that by sending me an email at Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at mystreaksapp.com or
Jamie, Jami, at mystreaksapp.com.
Kurt, thank you again. For everyone else for listening, we appreciate you. And until we talk again, we hope that you have a marvelous, fantastic, wonderful day. And as always,
Keep streaking.